happens when you put your lines in a blender again.
Yeah,
Yay!
in all fairness, the
guys keep crashing into each other.
The top two lines are the same, so we only changed 50% of the lines.
But like, man, it's still like the top two lines shouldn't be the same. Like the Pettersson line didn't really have a great game as a line last night. Like Pettersson had a good game, but the entire line, just really frustrating, man. So, like I don't understand this like three lefties on a line when you have other right-handed players in the lineup. Burying Lekkerimäki on the fourth line when that's not how you're going to get him to learn how to score at the NHL level. You're just going to make him frustrated and beat up. Oh.
Pat down to
good
for Tocchets lineup changes.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you can't have 3 shots on goal in a must-win game. Like this is the team that you are trying to keep off of your heels in a playoff race, and you can only muster 3 shots against in the first period when they only had 1 power play. So you don't have any excuses there. There's been plenty of 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 hockey. The refs have evened up twice now for us. The calls. There's no excuses for that other than when you watch, the forwards look confused. O'Connor and Lekkerimäki are fighting each other for the puck. Like no one knows where to go. There's no open ice. There's 2 guys on the puck constantly in the forward zone. I mean, you saw it with Oman didn't know where to go when Hughes is trying to carry the puck in because he's been playing wing for the last 3 games and practicing on the wing in practice. Like he hasn't played center for a while. So it's like, it's just that like one guy comes out and you have to mass panic and like completely blow it up. It's so confusing to me.
I don't think it doesn't seem like Tocchet needs much of an excuse to put the lines in a blender.
But he just keeps talking about consistency and how he wants this consistency. Like, does he not understand that forwards aren't cookie cutter hockey players? Like, you can't have 12 guys and just be like, this is how I want you to play. Every single one of you needs to play this way or we're not going to win. That's not how you get the most out of your players. Players are given different skill sets for a reason. Like, you have to find some chemistry and you have to stick with it. It's idiotic at this point.
Big Hog Hockey saying, Dustin, he's yelling the whole time too. Make your own lines. Walk down to Rogers Reeds. Get a meeting with Tocchet and show him it's that simple.
I just don't understand why it hasn't been talked about more by other analysts or other hockey players for that matter. Like hockey players who are analysts now. Like I feel so confused by this need to defend Tocchet just because he won a Jack Adams trophy. Like, I get it. He has strong qualities as a coach. But when you look at his stats offensively, everywhere he's gone as a coach, they're terrible. They go down. They continue to trend down the more years he's there as a coach. And it's just history repeating itself. I really don't understand it.
And Swervin Irvin donating $2.79. I'm with you, Dust. Which top 6 would Lex sub out if you're gonna move somebody?
Oh, tonight? We'd probably I'd move Höglander down the line a bit tonight. Or I mean, like you got so technically their second line is Joshua Suter Garland tonight, but you have Besser, Bluger, Sherwood, which is just silly. Bluger should be with Joshua and Garland. That should be your third line. Besser, Suter, and Lekkerimäki should be your second line if you're going to run that with 2 right-handed players with a guy. But like it just doesn't make sense to me to have Besser or Lekkerimäki together. So Besser should be stapled to Petey's line with DeBrusk, and Höglander, Lekkerimäki, and Suter should be aligned together. Like it just makes sense. It just makes sense in my head. Those skill sets match up with each other.
Is there any positives we can drag out of that first period?
Really good emotional response by the team, like trying to protect Lankinen, trying to protect each other. I'm really liking that sort of stuff. the refs need to call a minor penalty here or there that's like a hooking or something and stop. You can't call this like a playoff game because someone's going to get hurt. Guys are starting to push a little more after the whistles and try and take liberties. Lawson Krause is trying to crash the net every chance he gets. But I do like the way the team is kind of sticking together as a unit. Saw Mancini kind of single out Krause a bit there and start establishing himself as one of those physical guys. So we'll see what transpires in the second period here. But lots of good emotion in the game. I like that. But we need to get back to driving the offense the way we were driving it against Chicago. We can't just be able to do that against the bottom feeders. We have to be able to do that against other playoff teams. And, 3 shots on net is not going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give a fat down to Tyler Myers for once again taking a delay of game penalty. And I've been one of his biggest fans, even when he was making his $6 million and really not looking very good out there. I still think he'll be a big part of the team moving forward, but you cannot, once again, because this is now, third game in the last couple of weeks where he's just shot right over the glass?
Yeah, he needs a different curve or something. Get that kid a fucking straight stick. The old Gretzky straight one.
Yeah.
No curve. The flat trainer blade. Remember when you were like in Tykes and you just had the like straight stick? And you could shoot either way until you figured out which hand you were. Let's get Myers one of those.
Yeah. So big game tonight. Can you kind of go over the percentages of what this game means for the Canucks if they win or if they lose?
Well, it's massive in terms of even in regulation. Like it's a 10% swing either way. So right now they're sitting at about a 42% chance to make the playoffs. 41.5, I guess, if you want to like split it. But yeah, like so 10.8% go up if you win in regulation, 10.8% go down. So that's a difference of like a 50% chance of making the playoffs versus a 30% chance of making the playoffs. So this game is huge in the implications of the wild card race. These 4-point games are so much more important, and we got a lot of them coming down the stretch here. And I was watching the out of town scoreboard, and I'm pretty sure St. Louis is beating Anaheim right now. So even more important that we win this game in regulation time.
2-0 after one period for the Blues over the Ducks right now. Not as big of an implication, but the Rangers and the Oilers are tied 1-1 in the second intermission. Obviously, the Oilers are probably a little bit out of range for the Canucks. And then the Vegas Golden Knights got thumped, another Pacific team, losing big to the Red Wings tonight. So a diehard Red Wings fan will be happy about that. So the teams that we need to lose are obviously St. Louis, Utah, and luckily the Canucks are playing Utah tonight, so they should be able to win that. But obviously St. Louis coming up next week. It'll probably be another game that could swing the percentages of making the playoffs by 10% again.
Absolutely, yeah.
We talked a little bit about Willie, Mr. Tom Willander, yesterday. We weren't sure when the game was. I looked it up. Tom Willander playing for Boston University Terriers, playing in a playoff game yesterday. Can you tell the kids how things went for the boys down there in Boston?
Yeah, no, a really tight game. Boston U was up 2-1 late in the game, but ended up giving up the tying goal. Went to overtime, and they were able to secure the victory in overtime. So we will have to wait a little longer to see our boy Willander before he comes out this way, as they will be playing in the East hockey semifinal for the NCAA. So one more game for them to go. And then next will be the final for the East. And if they win that, obviously they go to the Frozen Four.
The second goal that Boston U scored, Willander did have a second assist on it. So he did get a point on that play. Yep. And then I did watch the highlights. It's cool. They actually have the highlights. If you guys want to check it out, just go on YouTube, check out Boston University hockey. It'll pop up for you. The overtime was wild because I'm pretty sure the Mass team that they were playing ended up hitting like 2 or 3 posts in that overtime. So it could have easily gone the other way.
Yes.
And my favorite part was the game-winning goal was scored by Yzerman.
Yes. But spelled
a little different.
E-I-S-E-R.
The other funny one was that I didn't realize this until I looked at the roster, but they also have Jack Hughes playing down there with Mr. Willander. Yeah. But it's not the Jack Hughes that you think it is. So if he hasn't been drafted yet, we have a chance to bring in the Temu version of Jack Hughes.
Timu Jack Hughes.
Yeah, so Willander might be joining. We'll see what happens. But yeah, they got another game. I believe it's on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, and then we'll see what happens with them. But I mean, like I said last night, I'd prefer Willander to get as much experience playing in those big games as he can. But watching the highlights, he did look pretty good out there last night. Definitely a good puck moving defenseman.
For sure.
Just watching the highlights right now, Philip Hedl on the intermission report on Sportsnet getting smacked into the boards head first. As we mentioned, he is day-to-day, whatever that means from Rick Tocchet. Concussion protocol, so probably be about 48 hours to kind of test how he's feeling, and then they'll decide whether or not he joins them on the road trip. But coming out today from Rick Dhaliwal, apparently the Department of Player Safety is not going to be giving any kind of suspension out to Dickinson as far as we could tell. What do you think about that?
Big miss by the Department of Player Safety. Again, the wheel of suspensions spins round and round, and where it stops, nobody knows. 100% defenseless player being hit in the numbers. Like textbook, check from behind, 5-minute major. I don't see how that is not reviewed immediately following the game. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It did sound like that Hedl was feeling pretty good today. Yeah. But given his history, obviously they're going to be very careful with the concussion protocol and follow all the steps. Hopefully we see him making the road trip with the boys. That would be huge, obviously. You worry. That was the big worry when we did bring him across in the trade, that he has had a history of concussions in his very young career. So hopefully this is not major, and we see him back on the ice early next week.
Now, is there anything that Tocchet could have done? Because from what he described, the ref essentially said, I didn't see it. So is there anything that Tocchet can do as a coach to be like, hey, I would like you guys to review this? Or is that right on the referee has to decide that he thinks they should review the play?
Well, it's a play. A major penalty can be called by any official on the ice. It doesn't have to be a referee. So all 4 of the officials on the ice could have called that penalty. And so that's where it doesn't sit well with me that they missed it. That's just a cop-out excuse. And with the number of cameras on the ice, it makes the officials look foolish. And we've talked about it earlier this year, how I wish that there was some form of accountability for the NHL officials. It seems like they get away with a lot of decisions that they make that change the outcome of the game or result in player injuries or other things like that. They hold a lot of power in their hands, and I feel like the younger they get, the more they seem to have some sort of agenda for themselves to make a name for themselves as officials. A lot of these guys have played hockey at some high level, and then when they can't make it as a hockey player, they become an official. And it's starting to feel like some of them are sour grapes, and they just think they can do what they want because they wear the stripes. And it's really, really starting to get sad and frustrating. I'd love to interview some of the older officials, like linesmen and stuff, and just ask their opinion about the state of officiating right now. Like, I grew up in Hope, British Columbia, and one of the best linesmen to ever work in the NHL. He was actually the first black official in the NHL. His name was Jay Shares, and his mom was our neighbor. And so I would get presents and stuff from him all the time from the NHL. And then he used to talk to me about officiating and when I was younger and the things to do and not to do. And I took officiating very seriously until it kind of got to a point where I just didn't have the time to go to the rink and do it. And I'd just love to hear what he thought about the way linesmen are now with the way they kick guys out of the face-offs and kind of try to be a part of the show with that sort of thing. It's like, you used to watch him, it'd be like, okay, boys, sticks in, drop the puck, in scrums and stuff. Guys respected him. Like, if he got in there, he could talk them down and, like, he let them go when they needed to go. They knew how to read the situation a lot better. And I just feel like we've gotten so far away from that it's becoming a problem league wide. Like, this could have been any two teams playing. If that call isn't made, I'm just as upset for whatever team has lost that player. Like, remove the Canucks out of the situation. This can't happen in a league like the NHL when you're supposed to be one of the premier sports leagues in the world, right? Like, you can't have that happening and that type of inconsistency with your officiating when these guys are making millions of dollars and this is your livelihood. Like, it just needs to be better. There needs to be some sort of standard for these guys, and it needs to be upheld.
Do you think it's time to bring in some kind of like a video official who's off ice, who just essentially watches the game and can pick up those kind of things and then buzz down and say, hey guys, someone just got hit face first in the boards, getting hit in the numbers. You should probably have a look at that.
Well, major issues. Yeah, for sure. I don't know why that can't be something like, they can blow the horn when there's a missed goal. Like, if someone misses a goal and the play goes on for 5 minutes, they can blow the horn and say, "Oh, guys, you missed a goal. We got to roll the clock back and do this and drop the puck." It's like, well, if the idea is that human error is supposed to be part of the game and the officials are there for that, then, well, they missed a goal. Carry on. You guys claim that this is all about speeding up the game and not slowing it down. That's why replays aren't in. Well, if there's a 5-minute major that's missed by the 4 guys on the ice, there's absolutely no reason why it can't come from a booth upstairs to a headset on the head referee and say, hey, you got to run this back. There's a major penalty that was missed by all 4 of you. This is the time that's on the clock. Let's get this right and move on.
Swerve and Irvin donating $2.79. Need rest to do media like in the NFL, which I didn't even know about, but that's pretty cool that they have them doing that.
Yeah, there's been getting more accountability for the NFL officiating because it had gotten really, really bad there for a while, and it was starting to affect sports betting, which once that starts happening in the NHL and it's affecting Vegas odds or affecting the outcomes of games because of officiating, then things will really start changing. Especially with the advancement of sports betting in hockey.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're trying to get in on that action, so you think they'd be taken a little more seriously. We didn't get quite to the Abbey Canucks. They're through 2 periods against the Calgary Wranglers down there in Abbotsford. We will get you guys up to date on what the conclusion of that 3rd period happens in the post-game show.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you then.
Nothing is perfect.